beginning of the 21st century, Shrek broke the stereotypes of animated films. The story of the ugly but tender ogre, his friendship with Donkey, and his romantic relationship with Princess Fiona broke every convention of animated feature films and fairy tales in general, with a different take on the script and a mood that would make children and adults instant fans. Far from a shallow and pristine main character, Shrek made his way as one of the most unusual and lovable anti-heroes in film history. But the first act of anti-heroism, showing that one could move on from adverse circumstances, happened in real life during the production of this film, and had producer Jeffrey Katzenberg as the protagonist. Get ready, because Shrek isn't only an incredible movie, it also hides one of the craziest revenge stories that ever took place in Hollywood behind the scenes. Born in 1950, Jeffrey Katzenberg began his career at Paramount. Within the same company, he was promoted through different positions, including the marketing division and television area. His first great success was to bring the Star Trek series to the big screen, which managed to increase the series' popularity substantially. From there, he showed his talent for discovering other projects for the company, from critically acclaimed films like The Elephant Man to fun blockbusters like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Katzenberg's talent as a producer was highly regarded by Michael Eisner, Paramount's chief operating officer. In 1984, Eisner was hired by Disney for the position of CEO. Back then, the House of Mouse was going through a dark period, with movies that did not work commercially or artistically. To better understand this decline, especially in the area of animation, Eisner hired Katzenberg. As the head of the Walt Disney Film section, Katzenberg soon showed his ability to produce movies with the right artistic team, high quality, and box office success. Although he didn't know anything about animated features, he soon became an expert on the subject. One of his first hits was Who Framed Roger Rabbit by Robert Zemeckis, who mixed animated characters with real actors. But Katzenberg's rise to fame started in 1989 with the premiere of The Little Mermaid. The success of this film began what is now referred to as the second golden age of Disney. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. Beauty and the Beast became the first animated film to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture. While all this was happening, Katzenberg began a corporate innovation while negotiating the greenlight of A Nightmare Before Christmas, produced by Tim Burton, and the merging of Disney and Pixar to make Toy Story. With such a vision, Katzenberg was ready to take a decisive step within Disney. In 1994, Frank Wells, the company's chief executive, died in a helicopter crash. So, Michael Eisner had to designate his successor. Everything made it seem like Katzenberg would be the chosen one. But that didn't happen. Eisner stayed with executive Michael Ovitz, and Katzenberg did not take Eisner's decision well at all. That same year, he decided to resign from Disney and also filed a lawsuit against Eisner for issues of intellectual copyright. Katzenberg won the lawsuit, and Disney had to pay him almost $300 million. To make matters even more ironic, Ovitz lasted just 1 year in office and retired amid several scandals. Back to Katzenberg. He was not unemployed for long. In late 1994, he joined his friend Steven Spielberg and record magnate David Geffen to found the production company DreamWorks. Each one would deal with a different area. Spielberg would take cinema, Geffen music, and Katzenberg the animated productions. He was determined to show Disney that they were not the only company that could make high-level animations. His first bet was the 1998 feature Prince of Egypt, made with traditional animation. It did not work well with either the audiences nor the critics. They had better luck the same year with the company's first digital animation feature film, Antz. This movie already had a different approach than other Disney products, and an emphasis on humor and more adult-oriented themes. However, also in '98, Disney released A Bug's Life through Pixar, which had a very similar story. Steve Jobs, who was Pixar's owner back then, swore that Katzenberg stole the idea. He said that before Toy Story debuted, Katzenberg met with John Lasseter to discuss future projects, and asked him repeatedly about their release date planned for A Bug's Life. After making Antz, Katzenberg started looking for a powerful, different idea, and he found it in the mid-1990s thanks to John H. Williams, one of DreamWorks' executive producers. Williams' two children were fans of a picture book called Shrek by the writer and cartoonist William Steig. The plot was mostly about an ogre who liked ugly smells, scaring people, and rescuing an ogre princess. Steig set out to create a story with elements from fairy tales, but with humor and a message of self-esteem for children. It is worth adding that Shrek means monster in Yiddish, which derives from the German word Schreck, which means terror or fear. The book was published in 1990, and a year later, Spielberg bought the rights to make a film adaptation through his production company, Amblin. The animation was going to be traditional, with the voices of Bill Murray as Shrek and Steve Martin as Donkey. The project didn't work out, and in 1995, Katzenberg bought the rights to Shrek for DreamWorks. Katzenberg's first intention was to make an animated feature film using the stop-motion technique, which Tim Burton had repopularized in The Nightmare Before Christmas. However, they decided that the budget would be too high and the use for this technique did not fully convince everybody, so they opted for digital animation. The assigned directors were Andrew Adamson and Kelly Asbury. Born in New Zealand, Adamson started his career working as a special effects technician and was promoted to supervisor in films like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Asbury came to DreamWorks after a long time working at Disney, and then took the role of director for the animated movie Spirit. He was appointed as a co-director for Shrek, but was quickly replaced by Vicki Jensen. Jensen's career was much more extensive in the field of animation, since she had been part of classic shows like The Smurfs, He-Man, and The Ren and Stimpy Show. Her first role as a director was on The Baby Huey Show in the mid-1990s. Although they already knew how to make the film, Katzenberg did not forget the importance of developing a good story and characters that connected with the audience. When adapting Steig's story, they saw that several changes needed to be made. The ogre in the book was too horrible and unattractive from a cinematic point of view, which could lead to rejection from the audiences. It was decided to give him a slightly more pleasant appearance. Donkey, who only appeared on 2 pages of the book, would become the companion of the protagonist. Fiona also stayed and gained more dramatic weight. The key character who was not in the book was Lord Farquaad, the main villain. The writers created it to kickstart the plot's conflict. Another crucial element they added were the characters from other famous children's stories, but to use them ironically. Adamson, who was also a co-writer, planned to deconstruct traditional tales to build a new one. During the writing of the script, Katzenberg and Adamson had differences on the approach of the film. Adamson intended to do something very adult, with sexual jokes and music from the Guns N' Roses. Katzenberg, on the other hand, wanted a film suitable for all audiences. In the end, his vision prevailed, with some more subtle jokes aimed at the older audiences. The first option to voice Shrek was Nicolas Cage, who took down the role because he was worried about the image that kids would have of him. He did not want to be seen as an ogre, but later admitted that he was wrong. The producers offered the role to Chris Farley, a comic rising from the Saturday Night Live program, who was starting to venture into the big screen with movies like Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. Farley accepted the role and began recording his dialogues. The animators even added some details of Farley's appearance to the character, but the actor died tragically in December 1997. He was 33 years old. After some time, another comedian from Saturday Night Live who was also a close friend of Farley appeared, Mike Myers. He had already been the lead character on a popular film called Wayne's World and the box office hit spy comedy Austin Powers. Myers joined immediately because he wanted to work with Katzenberg and because of the story's message about accepting oneself. For Fiona's voice, they originally casted Janeane Garofalo, but she was later fired for no clear reason. She was replaced by Cameron Díaz. Eddie Murphy was cast for the voice of Donkey. According to the filmmakers, his broad jaw and white teeth was used as an inspiration for the character's appearance, and his talent for improvising lines of comedic dialogue gave the role much more freshness. As for Farquaad's voice, the first choice was Alan Rickman, but the actor had to turn down the offer to play Severus Snape in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The film's team finally decided to cast John Lithgow, who also played villain roles in previous films. As it often happens in animated film productions, none of the actors saw each other during the recording sessions. Each one recorded their voices separately, and the directors were in charge of coordinating the levels of intensity in the interactions between each character. The production included an entire team of animators who had previously worked in Antz. Their biggest challenge was animating fire, water, the fur of characters like Donkey, but one of the most challenging tasks was animating 3D mud. Mud was an important part of the story, because Shrek uses it for bathing in the introduction sequence. Bringing the characters to life was also a difficult challenge. Donkey's design was taken from a real-life short-haired donkey named Perry. His appearance from the book was substantially changed. Lord Farquaad's appearance is strikingly similar to that of Michael Eisner, reinforcing the idea that Katzenberg wanted the film to function as a response to Disney. Farquaad is a spoiled king who lives in a perfect castle and captures all the fairy tale creatures. There's not that much of a deep analysis needed to see some coincidences. Designing Fiona proved to be more difficult, since she was not based on any real person or other being. Animation supervisor Ramon Hui confessed that many different sketches were made of that character. Over 100 sculptures of Princess Fiona were made before the directors chose the final one. Since the directors set out to make the most realistic digitally animated human character to that date, they even hired a celebrity makeup artist as a consultant. While post-production was wrapping up, everyone seemed to be very happy, except for Mike Myers. The actor recorded his dialogues in his normal Canadian accent, but then realized that the character would sound better if he had a Scottish accent. Myers' mother was Scottish, and as the actor recalled, she used to read him children's books with her native accent. According to Myers, a Scottish voice would give warmth to the character. Re-recording all the voices cost DreamWorks another $4 million, but everyone was amazed by the results. Spielberg himself wrote a letter to Myers thanking him for caring so much about the character. Although Katzenberg vetoed the idea of putting music from Guns N' Roses in the film, songs from popular brands of that time were taken into account. Smash Mouth's All-Star was used in the first few minutes as a reference song, but when they did the first test screenings, everyone was fascinated by how it sounded. The directors not only used All-Star in the final film, but also added another Smash Mouth song to the end credits called I'm a Believer. Before the movie premiered, DreamWorks attorneys asked to see the film to make sure all the satirical jokes to the Disney universe were not worthy of lawsuits from the rival company. They saw nothing that could cause serious problems, and in fact, legal problems never arose. Shrek's journey couldn't have started better. In May 2001, it was selected to compete for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, a very rare thing for an animated Hollywood film. The award went to Nanni Moretti's The Sun's Room, but the ogre and his friends caught the attention of the entire film community. Shrek was released on the 18th of May of 2001, and it became an instant hit. With a budget of around $60 million, it raised more than $484 million worldwide. On the other hand, critics also praised the movie, highlighting its originality and irreverence. That following year, the Hollywood Academy created the Best Animated Film category, and Shrek was the first one to win that Oscar. In this way, DreamWorks managed to position itself as one of the big companies in the field of animation, along with Disney and Pixar. After such a phenomenon, 4 sequels were made. Shrek himself became an icon of pop culture, to the point that in 2010, he received his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an almost impossible achievement for an animated character, accomplished only by Mickey Mouse, The Simpsons, and Winnie the Pooh. After all this time, we can still think about Jeffrey Katzenberg's revenge at the company that laid him off. Shrek is a very good example that a bad experience can sometimes become the engine of a creative event that continues to amuse the audiences for years and years to come.